Hey everyone, welcome to episode 12 of Formidable Opponents, the show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is the best, or in this case, the worst, in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and today's topic is worst 80s music video. Guys, how are y'all doing tonight, man?
Doing great, brother, doing great. Excited about this topic.
Doing good, man. I just have one question. Is Stacy's mom Jesse's girl? And if so, is her name Jenny? And is her number back then 867-5309? I just gotta know.
So today we're arguing worst 80s music video. And of course, once upon a time, there was light in our life, and that was called the 80s. The 80s, where we went from wearing our sunglasses at night to now where we wear our pajamas to work. So the main purpose of a music video is to promote and showcase the artist. We all grew up on MTV, the 80s monoculture, where everything was synchronized into cable television. We saw artists, they were bigger than life. Now we got YouTube and TikTok and all these other avenues that we go by. But back in the 80s, for you youngsters listening, everything was about MTV, at least for the first 15 years, right? In a few months, actually, we will be celebrating 40 years of MTV. And of course, as I mentioned, about 16 of those years were dedicated to music videos, but that encapsulates the entire 80s, and that's what we're going to argue about. Now, some bands and acts really excelled and benefited from music videos, and videos were homogeny. We were connected with faces, places, and chases. When I think of artists with good music videos of the 80s, I think of acts like Michael Jackson, Duran Duran, U2, The Cars, Peter Gabriel, and many bands just couldn't corral the concept of what makes a great music video and couldn't just put together the pain of failing to handcuff a strong video with a great song. And we all love bad videos. And when a video fails to connect with an audience, as much as it is a detriment to career and egos, those videos, thanks to YouTube, live on in infamy and at times immortalizes the artists and keeps them relevant. So guys, when we talk about bad 80s music videos, what are some of like the tropes? What are some of the things we're looking for? Joseph, we'll start with you.
Pretty much anything. I think the 80s were a really big fantasy time. You saw it in a lot of the movies.
Life is just a fantasy.
There was a lot of, over the edge type movies, these science fiction things. So I think a lot of these music videos back then, they incorporated that, whether it was the science thing or the pretty girl or some, and now when we look back on it, we see it as cheesy. Back then, it was probably the greatest thing you could do because it was what was going to sell your record. A lot of funny things with over the top characters. For some reason, a lot of detectives. Why were there a lot of detectives in 80s fucking music videos? I don't understand. There was always private eyes and shit.
What about you, Bob?
First of all, I'm disappointed you didn't mention Robert Palmer's Addicted to Love. That's like my favorite 80s music video.
It's a great 80s
but you did mention Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer, which I know a lot of people hate. So, but that's shout out to Kenny. I know that's the first thing he mentioned. One of our avid listeners, he's like, I hated Sledgehammer. Like, but Peter Gabriel, he's like the 50-year-old singing in the 80s. So it's kind of cool. 80s music videos, when I think of the worst videos, like Joseph said, it's over the top. It's cheesy. One thing you didn't mention, terrible dancing. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit. Terrible. I don't know who the hell told these rock stars and pop stars that they could dance and they should dance in these videos, but they should definitely be fired, or they should have been fired. A lot of times in these worst videos, the video doesn't fit with the song. You can have a great song and then they shoot the video and holy shit, huge mistake. And they don't quite fit. A lot of times it's comical and it's laughable. And we have detectives. It was a big decade for the nerd, right? Sunglasses at night, but a lot of times the video itself was somewhat distracting to the actual song.
And you make a good point, Bob. A lot of these videos that we're going to talk about, the songs, for the most part, were pretty good. We're not here to argue bad songs. That's not a correlation when it comes to a bad video. So that's a good designation to say we're talking about videos that were bad. And sometimes it's a shock when you listen to the song on the radio and then when you watch the video and it just doesn't match up. And one thing we didn't talk about, the most important factor about these videos is cocaine. Cocaine was abundant. It was everywhere. And I think all our picks had something to do with directors and musicians just snorting it in abundance.
I think you forgot to mention Charlie Murphy saying, and I quote, "The more you look like a bitch, the more girls you got."
That too. So
I was looking up a lot of videos and pictures, and man, Bret Michaels, Jesus Christ, couldn't tell. And prettiest man I ever saw.
Motley Crue. Yeah, you had a bunch of those acts that just, very much, I guess you could say, paved the way for the androgynous act and for that gender bending role. And that was the 80s. It was all about being different, being new, and just exploring. So before we get to our selections, let's talk about our honorable mentions. So what were some of your honorable mentions, Joseph?
Well, the ones that stand out, and it's a good song, it's Separate Ways by Journey. I mean, I love that song, but if you watch the video, it's horrible. Like, what the fuck are they doing? Just play your instruments. Don't do air guitar. Like, it's horrible.
Air guitar.
Hall and Oates, Man Eater.
Can we go back to Journey for a little bit? Because I had Separate Ways too. I mean, the bad news, it's a great song, as you mentioned,
yes,
but a terrible video. If you have a friend who is a dock worker and you own an iPhone, you can film this, even a better video. And the budget for this video was tighter than Stephen Perry's pants, is what I'm saying. And I don't know why. I mean, Journey.
I didn't think he hit all those high notes.
Those were good high notes.
It's a great song, though. He's one of the best singers ever.
Great song. It is. Also, what did I said? Hall and Oates, Man Eater, Devo's Whip It. I mean, I love that song. I do. Good. It's a good fucking song. I'm sure it got everybody up on the floor back in the days, but it is kind of a weird fucking video. What the hell's going on in that? A lot more, but go ahead, Bob.
Those are great picks, great honorable mentions. One for sure was Olivia Newton-John's "Let's Get Physical."
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Very sexual undertone type of songs, and she made it very comical. I mean, it starts off with a dude in a banana hammock, and then it goes on to like a bunch of out of shape dudes that she's trying to get into shape, which is very funny. But the song is very sexual in nature, so I found it kind of like, oh, this is terrible. It doesn't fit the song, right?
Don't post that banana hammock picture on our Instagram. I'll take your word for it.
I mean, I could zoom in. I could zoom in and get a good shot if you want. Lick It Up by Kiss. This is the first video without makeup.
I got that one. Yeah.
One of my best buddies that I work with asked him, "Hey man, so what's the worst music video?" He was like, "Oh, it's Lick It Up by Kiss." And I go, "Why is that?" First music video with them without makeup. They had no business taking off their makeup.
Especially Gene Simmons, man.
The opening scene is all of them walking towards, it just shows legs because it's like takes place in this woman's post-apocalyptic world run by women. And these guys, you just see legs and you see a bunch of chick boots, cheetah boots, high heel boots. And then it pans up and it's just like the four ugliest motherfuckers you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. If I didn't know any better, if I didn't know the song, I would have thought like, okay, it's a female rock band or something. Like we're going to see something. And no,
Go ahead, Bob. Go. Kudos to Gene Simmons for trying to look sexy and failing miserably. And, as a young boy, I used to be afraid of Kiss with makeup. And once I got over that fear and saw this video, I was older, yet I was afraid of Kiss without makeup.
Sucks when this big time 70s rock band tries to transition to the 80s and no makeup and trying to dance. And it was just totally awkward and totally weird, and they look terrible doing it. That was the last album, I believe. Then the next album they switched back to makeup.
Thank God.
The video was just awful. One of the ones I wanted to highlight, and we all talked about it. I talked to Joseph last night. We talked a little bit earlier. Was Bonnie Tyler's "Total Eclipse of the Heart." Now, I love this song. I remember thinking about this song because of Old School. They redo it in Old School during Will Ferrell's wedding scene, which I thought was hilarious. But going back and watching it, this video it had me die. It's one of the worst and weirdest music videos I think I've ever seen. Has a little bit of everything.
Cocaine.
Yeah, cocaine. Dude, I'm telling you, man, it has everything. I sound like freaking Stefan in SNL. It has a little bit of everything. Haunted mansions, possessed altar boys, ninjas, dancing Arnolds.
What are dancing Arnolds?
It's that thing where a bunch of built greasers dance around real tight and muscular like a Terminator. It's such a weird, crazy, weird video. There's swimmers with goggles and a dinner party that goes sour and fencers that are all sweaty. It's just all sorts of weird and crazy. Have y'all seen it? Have y'all watched it?
I actually have it on my list too. So this song was written and produced by the recently departed Jim Steinman. He was a composer who wrote and produced songs for Meatloaf and Celine Dion. And I think this was supposed to be a vampire musical for Broadway, and they decided to make it into a music video. And I don't think that this video knows exactly what it's supposed to be. I mean, it's everywhere. You mentioned every ninjas and gymnasts. And I mean, is it a musical? Is it a horror film? Is it a softcore porno? Is it a shampoo commercial? I don't think this music video has an identity. I think it's just everywhere. And they just had too much money and too much cocaine and just decided to put everything together.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
I know one question that Joseph brought up last night when we were talking about it. He was like, well, how old is she? She seems to be in love with a lot of young boys at this private school.
I didn't know, dude. I was like, and I'm not trying to like make accusations here or nothing. Anyway, I just thought it's unusual, like, because we can't figure out what the fuck this music video is about. It's like a boarding school, and there's, is she the dean or is she like? So I don't know what she is. But go ahead.
So, any other selections, Bob? Or was that it?
No, those are my three. I mean, like I said, there is a lot of really crazy bad videos, but those three really stood out to me and really spoke to me, as I guess you could say. What about you, Ram? What do you have?
Yeah, what do you got, Rennie?
You guys tackled some of my honorable mentions. I also had Journey Separate Ways. I also had Kiss Lick It Up, as well as Total Eclipse from the Heart. So I just have two that I'm going to mention that you didn't mention. Men Without Hats, the safety dance. I believe this was a big inspiration for Peter Jackson. I might be wrong. This song uses medieval folk revival imagery with like Morris dancers, mummers, Punch and Judy puppets, maypoles. And back in the medieval times, they used to use torture devices like racks and breaking wheels. The only torture device in this video is rhythmless melee people dancing. It's just a horrible... I mean, there's so many things I want to say about this video, but it's obviously the person who directed this video. They had to have been on drugs.
You forgot about wood pipe.
We had everything in this video. It was crazy and just a bad video. Great song, though. I also had Laura Branigan, Self-Control. Great song. I actually do like this song. It's a great Grand Theft Auto song. It's one of those songs where if you steal a car in Grand Theft Auto, you wait till the song is over. She's trying to look sexy and ominous, but she looks like an adventurous mom out on the wrong side of town after a few glasses of wine and some Xanax. A lot of grown men with inexplicably smooth chests and no muscle tone in this one. They're all wearing masks. Kind of a weird video. Have you all checked that one out? Self-Control by Laura Branigan?
I watch it every night before bed.
I have not, but now the way you describe it, I'm not sure I want to. I'm just going to look for it on Amazon Music or something and hear the song.
It's a great song. So we're going to go ahead and go on with our selections. Bob, I believe you're first, and you're going to talk a little bit about a music video that's very near and dear to your heart.
Well, first off, like I said, a lot of these 80s videos and the ones that we chose, a lot of sections that we talked about, the song doesn't necessarily match the music video. And I believe no other one fits that mold as perfectly as Dead or Alive's You Spin Me Right Round. It came out in 1985, again, brought up in The Wedding Singer. Huge song, actually one of my favorite songs of the 80s. It's extremely catchy, it screams 80s. I love it. Like, if that song plays at a club or at a bar, I mean, shit, everybody knows the song, everybody likes that song. But the video is just, oh my God, over the top, extremely cheesy, awful dancing, weird wardrobe changes, and an eye patch for some reason. The video and lead singer Pete Burns just take themselves way too seriously, and the video ends up extremely comical. But Pete Burns obviously is trying to be sexy in the video, and it's just not working too well.
I say he was okay doing that.
I think you're just a fan of white lipstick. It's just an extremely comical. It turns out to be an extremely comical and terrible video. Paul Rudd, as a matter of fact,
yes.
Paul Rudd on Jimmy Fallon shot a shot-for-shot music video of You Spin Me Right Round. And I mean, man, he fucking nailed it. He nails Pete Burns' character and mannerisms and dances so perfectly.
The eye roll was the best.
Yes, dude. Man, and again, this is one of my favorite 80s songs. There's no shame in that shit. I love this song. It's one of my favorite ones, but the music video is terrible. And I think I think Pete Burns is mostly to blame, or whoever the fuck the director was, right? Pete Burns, I mean, he starts off like Hugh Hefner, and then he makes that big switch to this pirate with an eye patch and pajamas. You know, why would he make that change? Why would the director have him dressed that way? What's up with the fucking pirate eye patch? And then it moves on to his dancing, which, again, there are a lot of, and forgive me, there is a lot of white guys that can't dance for shit in the 80s. And I don't know who decided to let these people dance. But
not George Michael.
You leave George Michael out of this. Okay.
Boo! He doesn't like George Michael.
He doesn't like George Michael. But his dancing was terrible. I mean, first off, he does the finger waving, scolding thing way too much, right? He's pointing and waving his finger like he's an angry teacher or something. Then it goes on to his arm and hip movements. He's shaking his hips and lifting his arms, and right.
Yeah,
I have no idea what the hell he's doing. And then we move on to the rest of the band, which looks like the older uncles that he decided, hey, come on, join the band, that don't look like they fit the music video, the song, or that era, right? Except for the Aquanet or whatever.
They wave flags like no one's business.
The waving of the flags. Where the hell did the color guard come into this? I have no idea how this. So it's terrible dancing, color guard waving flags, a freaking eye patch. But this is the one that gets me. And I've watched this video, I want to say like 30 times this week, or since we talked about the top. There's a scene in the middle of this video where Pete Burns the special effects weren't that great in the 80s. He takes a handful of gold glitter, and tosses it in the air so it falls down while he's singing to give a cool effect. And then, like, moments later, they pan out. The fucking glitter's still all over the floor. Like, they decided, we're not going to sweep this shit up. We'll just leave it. It's just surrounding him on the floor. Like, it wasn't a special effect. It was just him throwing up glitter. I thought was hilarious, and it makes this all more like just a terrible video. And again, and I want to say this. I love this song and Pete Burns and his voice and the way they sang this song, everything, it was a huge hit in the 80s, and it's one of my favorite songs, but the video just did not meet the standard of the song.
You know, first of all, cocaine. Secondly, are we sure this is a bad
that's
music?
What the glitter was. Sorry.
Are we sure this is a bad music video, or is it just low budget? Because we all agree it's a great song. And the song has, definitely lived on from decades to decades. You could play this, people will dance to it. They'll get it. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be somebody's 50-year-old uncle, or you could be an 18-year-old kid. You're gonna go up there and you're gonna do the finger admonishing and the hip shaking. It was very cutting edge at an age where ambiguity, androgyny were coming to the forefront. Boy George was kind of the person who started, or I don't know if he started it, but he was one of the more famous people who was tailoring that look to the public.
Let me stop right there. But Boy George, Boy George did it, but when he tried to look sexy, he looked fucking sexy, okay? There's nothing sexy about Pete Burns in that video. The motherfucker was looking like he was searching for land on a ship during his dancing part.
He had a tremendous jawline. I will give him that. And, speaking of Pete Burns, good job by him for taking command and elucidating a powerful message of being yourself, when back in that era it wasn't as accepting. This was an era where that kind of stuff was looked at. There's a lot of toxic masculinity, and there's a lot of things where you couldn't do because people thought it was unacceptable or strange. But he died on that hill. He said, I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to go out there and dance, and I'm going to be completely unabashed and unapologetic. And I admire him for that. I think the fact that, even though that wasn't accepting, it was a risk. He went ahead and he did it. The other three guys that you talked about, Bob, in the video, they looked embarrassed to be there. I'm sure after this, they became accountants or middle school history teachers. I don't think they stayed in the music industry.
What's funny about them, Pete Burns is busting his ass to sing this song, the shit out of the song, and they're so monotone with their little one line in the chorus while they're getting wrapped around in their little gold ribbon.
My favorite part is the cutaway where they're all in a group, but it looks like a family photo because one guy has his arm on somebody's shoulder.
My love is true. Yeah, that's part.
And the follow-up video, I don't know if you've watched Brand New Lover, which I think is a superior song to You Spin Me Around. It had a bigger budget, better production, but I don't think it was as captivating or as memorable as this song. And by the way, if you love rodeos, go watch Brand New Lover. It's a tremendous rodeo video. For those who don't remember Brand New Lover, check it out. I think they had a bigger budget to work with, and it's more of I would even say it's more of a captivating 80s video than You Spin Me Round. But I don't hate the video. I could see it's very low budget. It's very tacky. And I think for the time it was captivating. And now people are making fun of it. You see Paul Rudd doing, I guess he's paying homage to it. But, when he's doing the dance step for step, you realize how stupid and embarrassing and how it didn't hold up. But I don't know. I think it is a bad video. I don't think it's the worst. I think it was just very low budget. And that's the big knock on it. Joseph?
Go ahead, Joe. And then
I think that, like we've all said, it's a great. I enjoy the song. I don't not like the song. I did not know this was the band or the guy that sang the song, and then when I did find out, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" But I love there's one of my favorite bands from back in the days, Dope, did a cover of it, and it was really good. I liked it. Anyway, yeah, clearly. I don't know. Was this their first single? Was it?
I think so.
Probably their first single.
It was their first big single. Yeah.
Big single. So let's say that the money wasn't exactly booming. For not having the money, maybe not having the budget to do a great video. It's fucking weird. It is like the damn. The wardrobe choice. The rest of the band looked like they were wearing the same thing the whole time. The lead singer probably should have spent less money on different outfits. Maybe they could have had more of a story. But you're right. The video, I think what makes it so bad is that the song, you can listen to the song and you can get a feel for what the song is about. It's about somebody, the pursuit, I guess, seeing somebody, the out and about, finding them attractive, wanting to, and how that person makes you feel. But I think there was a better way to do this video to tell that story. But like, if you didn't know, if you're just watching it with the sound on, you don't know with the sound off, you don't know what the fuck's going on. You just see this guy dancing around, and those little the hip shimmies. I don't know what the fuck you want to call it. Those are hilarious.
You can figure it out. He's miming the lyrics, or he's miming the lyrics.
Pretty much.
I want to say this about the budget. This video looked a hell of a lot better than half the fucking videos I've seen in the 80s. So
and I'm not sorry. I'm
low budget.
I'm not trying to knock the budget. I'm just saying. Like I don't know. No, I don't know what the budget was.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and I run so far away. Holy shit! It looks like a fucking vampire shot with their parents' goddamn 1960s camera, dude. It's terrible.
But all the satin ribbon shit. The wrapping around them. I don't know if maybe that's supposed to mean. Symbolism for, you spin me round, I guess, with the satin ribbon. Yeah, the color guard flag stuff. I don't get it. Bob, I think you picked this one because you look pretty good. You probably look the best out of all of us. I'm a horrible prince. Randy, you got, hey, you got a little, you got something on the top now.
Yeah, I love it.
And an earring. But Bob was like a cross between a Snake Plissken and this guy.
You're not saying much.
When you look at because I think one of the more captivating images, or one of the more enduring images, is the three stoic band members who look like, what the fuck are we doing here? Yes. When they're spinning around and they look like they're on an office chair or something, and there's ribbon around them. Why couldn't they cut to a record and like a record spinning? But then they put these poor bastards through hell, having them stand butt cheek to butt cheek, and then like spinning them around with ribbon tying them. You could tell they were just like, this is not what we signed up for.
The bigger question is, they seem more happy spinning flags than they were.
Yeah, I think they were all like, you know what? Yeah, you do the dances. We'll just stand here and.
What's crazy about this, and I want everybody to get this into perspective. I played this video over and over and over and over again this past week. It's one of my fucking favorite videos. Every time I watch it, I laugh. It's a great song, and it's a hilarious video. That's what makes it. It is so bad that it's become comical, and I think that's why I like it. It surpasses every other one. Maybe not Bonnie Tyler's "Total Eclipse of the Heart," because that one was just totally weird, But this song is just, it's so funny because it takes itself so seriously, and it's so cheesy that I believe it sits on top of the throne.
I was going to ask you this, Bob, because I watched the video over and over, and maybe I get a lot of like crossover with Paul Rudd, and Paul Rudd's being real cheeky with everything. But is Pete Burns in on the joke? Because sometimes I feel like he knows that this is over the top, and he knows that he's he's the center focus. And I think he's kind of just doing all the waving because he's just having fun with it.
Yeah, see, and I was trying to look that up, and I was trying to do some research and find it, but Pete Burns, the type of person that he is, the type of guy he was, from the research I did, I guess, too, and let me just say this, you either go all in or you look like a fool. And I think he fucking decided, hey, fuck it, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to go have fun with it. I'm going to dance how I fucking want to dance. I'm going to look and dress how I want to fucking look. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. I'm going to have a good time. And I think that's what the 80s was. It's Bret Michaels, lipstick. You know, everybody put on makeup back then, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's what he did. He's like, this is me. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to have a great music video. And if people love it, they love it. If people later on laugh, I don't give a shit. And I think that's what's great about it. Like, there's a lot of props to Pete Burns and that band. Like I said, I don't feel like the song was fantastic. Just the video is just so cheesy and so over the top that it just makes it the worst video.
I mean, just totally on par with everything 80s. I mean, it just checks every box. I love it. And it is bad, but it's good bad. You know, it's like you'll stop and watch it. You know, and that's not what I was going for. But before let's go to Joseph. Joseph, who did you pick and why?
Okay, so I went with Dancing in the Street by Mick Jagger and David Bowie.
Oh, no.
Don't you guys start.
Okay, so we're going to get into it. So originally, yes, the song was originally a hit by Martha and the Vandals, released in 1964. Bowie and Jagger covered it for a Live Aid charity at the insistence of Bob Geldof. Bob Geldof was the lead singer of a band called the Boomtown Rats. I don't know anything about him, but he was insistent on it. And how this dude convinced these guys to do this, I don't know. Aside from the style, there were a few lyrical changes. Most notably, the version begins with an announcement to the world to hearken the universal nature of the concert. According to Bowie and Jagger, they recorded the song in just 4 hours. In 2007, Jagger told Rolling Stones, "We banged it out in just two takes, and it was interesting exercise on how you can do something without worrying too much." Both of these guys look like they just threw on whatever. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I mention that, these guys apparently recorded the song in 4 hours and then immediately went to go film this video. So I mean, I think it was for the whole thing was on a timetable for the charity. Like I said, it was a charity thing for Live Aid. Made a lot of money, so that's cool. As bad, I don't like this song. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I don't even like Van Halen's cover either.
I don't like any cover. The original song is fine the way it is. It's not my style of music, but it's cool the way it is. Anybody covering this song does a horrible job, and the reason why I don't like this song at all. And I guess I'm being. You can say that I'm being biased about it. You know, I don't like the song. Oh, that means you don't like the video. No, there's a big difference between just not liking the song and thinking this video sucks. But so anyway. It looks like these guys just threw on whatever it was that they were wearing. If anybody suggested costumes or specific wardrobe, these guys probably looked at whatever they showed him and said, fuck that, we're going to go comfortable. Jagger is in like puffy blue jeans with a bluish green button up. It's like teal, I guess. I'm not too sure.
Sea green.
Sea green, yeah. Bowie's wearing what looks like it kind of looks like a black mechanic suit. If you look, I mean, I know it's button up. He's got some pants, and then he's wearing like a long white.
I thought it was camouflage.
It's like a camouflage iconic trench coat.
Yeah, it's anyway. So it's nothing but it looks like these guys were just taken somewhere out in the middle of the late at night. If you look at the video, it's at night, but some parts of it look like it's early morning. These guys got out of the studio, so they were probably in the studio. And again, this is David Bowie and Mick Jagger, two of the greatest rock stars ever. Big fan of both of them, but I could not understand why they did this, other than it made a lot of money for charity. These guys went out into the middle of the London docks, dancing, goofy, probably drunk and having fun. Hey, I've gotten drunk and started doing some funny dancing.
The ostrich dance?
The ostrich dance. The crew was probably like, sure, yeah, do whatever you want. Have fun, guys. Fuck it. There is a moment. I don't know if you caught it. There's a moment in the middle of the video where they're like singing side to side. I don't want to say back to back, but they're standing side to side and the camera's panning around them and Bowie's singing his part. And it looks like Jagger reaches down and picks up a can, and you can't see that I can't say that it's a beer, but he takes a big swig out of the can and puts the can on. You can't tell me that wasn't some fucking alcohol. He was like, if I'm going to keep doing this shit, I need to keep getting drunk. If I'm going to do, he had to probably be like, I'm going to be pissed drunk if I'm going to keep doing this shit. You can tell they're good friends. if not best of friends. So they were having fun. Again, it was for charity. So although I hate this song, it's two of my favorite musicians, two rock icons, Hall of Famers. But it was for a good cause. It did make a lot of money. I mean, the step dancing is stupid. I think Jagger's wearing some old, like, dad, what would be considered dad white
kids.
sneakers.
I think he's wearing kids. God damn it.
I think they're Reeboks because I think
they're Reeboks.
Yeah, they're Reeboks.
It doesn't make it any better. It doesn't make it any better.
But just, I mean, you could tell, like, these guys were just like, fuck it, whatever, let's do it. It's for charity. No real direction whatsoever. So whoever was filming this was like, this is fucking gold. We're printing money here. We got two of the greatest fucking rock stars ever. And then just I mean, you've seen it. It's horrible. Go for it. Let me hear it.
I think, first of all, cocaine. Okay. And then secondly,
cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Secondly, thank God this video was only 3 minutes. It was a quick watch. I was like, I remember this video being longer. And I was watching, I was like, did I get the right version on YouTube? And I was like, okay, it's only 3 minutes, but that's enough, man.
It felt like an eternity.
It did feel like an I guess when you were younger and you were watching this on MTV, you're like, when is this thing going to end? Total Eclipse of the Heart is like a 5.5 minute video. And this is 3 minutes, but it's 3 long minutes. Who hasn't acted like this with their best friend at 3 a.m. after a night of drinking? So, I mean, it's obvious that they were very close. They were having a good time. I think about after 20 minutes, a frustrated director was like, I give up. You two do whatever the fuck you want. I'm pretty sure they were like, these guys are drunk. They're dancing. They're acting up. I think Bowie and Jagger's combined weight equals the weight of an average American male. I mean, they're both so thin. Yeah. And I think Bowie was just coming out of rehab, if I remember correctly. I don't think he was on any drugs at the time, or he was getting off some drugs. And
Are you sure?
I think so. I don't know. I think the only drug was just the elation of being around Mick Jagger. It was incredibly corny. And I don't think it ages very well because at the time, I think they were both, I don't know, in their 30s, 40s maybe. And it's kind of like one of us like saying, hey, let's go out there and dance on the streets and like have a good time. It would look terrible. It looks like a TikTok video of like, two dads after a long day of drinking. I think their chemistry is good. I think they sing together very well. I wish they had picked a different song. I just think that this video had no structure whatsoever. I don't think it's the worst because I think that you're at least watching, again, two people having a good time and enjoying each other's company. But the butt shaking at the end when the video finishes is just ridiculous. It's just, I don't know. Mick Jagger's one of the best dancers that ever lived, but this does not help his case.
Let me stop you right there. If you think Mick Jagger is one of the best dancers that ever lived, we have problems, sir. We have problems.
You can dance, man.
Awkwardly, shit. Again, somebody told this dude, hey, you can dance. Awesome. Fuck it, just dance. I actually heard this song for the first time when I was watching a movie, One Crazy Summer. Y'all remember that movie?
It's a classic, yes.
One Crazy Summer, Demi Moore, John Cusack, Bobcat Goldthwait, he's in that one too. Great movie. The song is not bad. I think you're tying it together when you want to talk about
it's bad.
I mean, you're saying it was for charity. It can't be as bad as We Are the World. Fuck, that song was terrible. You ever seen Bob Dylan singing We Are the World? Motherfucker doesn't even know what year it is or what world he's in. What makes this video terrible, because the song isn't bad. It's not bad. It's an 80s, get up and dance, have fun song. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. But what makes it terrible is you have two rock legends, man, in Jagger and Bowie, dancing terribly. Fuck, they're out. I mean, granted, yes, Mick Jagger looks like he's going to pick up his daughter at a high school, after school, after hours. But you got two rock legends, dude, dancing terribly together. There's sexual tension. There's a lot of shit going on in this video that we don't have to go into, but it's just a terrible, terrible video. Like you said, they're drinking. They're like, fuck it, let's do whatever. Let's just dance. Let's have a good time. Cocaine, right? And they were Reeboks. Yes, they were Reeboks, that the old school all white Reeboks, which is funny because the kids nowadays at school, they wear white Nikes and they don't want to crease them. I'm like, motherfucker, have you seen Mick Jagger dance in those bad boys? You gotta crease your shoes. What's the point of wearing shoes? You can't crease them.
You guys are giving them crap about what they wear. In the lyrics, it says it doesn't matter what you wear as long as you are there. So they don't give a shit what you think about what they wear.
Obviously they don't care. Obviously they don't care. Looks like he was wearing a fishing shirt, wearing acid wash jeans and white Reeboks. These are two of my favorite rock artists of all time, and they did it for charity, man. They did it for charity. It wasn't as bad as We Are the World, okay? I'll give it that, but it was a terrible video. When you get just like Kiss, and we talked about Gene Simmons, you're a rock star, and then all of a sudden you want to fucking dance. Maybe you should take a step back and rethink your approach. But it was an extremely bad video. I think they even made fun of it in Family Guy as one of the worst videos of all time. I actually think they even played the whole video.
They did. They played the whole video because it was only 3 minutes.
The episode of Family Guy, which I thought was hilarious.
And they make a joke about it, how they're like, "That's right, America. You let that happen."
Yeah. Which I want to say, we talked about Pete Burns being a terrible dancer. These guys were just as bad.
I got you guys top, but go ahead.
Yeah, we'll get into that one. We'll get into that one next. But I honestly think that it was some of the worst dancing I'd ever seen in a music video. And I'm a terrible dancer unless I've had at least 3 Jack Daniels, but I could say like, oh shit, that's terrible.
What's funny about this, like, and before we move on, I look at this video and I think to myself, God, this is like two, middle-aged dads out having a few drinks, like you say, like we've mentioned, having a few drinks, and song comes on and they're just like, hey, that's all. Yeah, I'm kind of scared now. I'm just like, is this my future? What the fuck?
Man, I don't know what else to say other than like, if it was anybody else, a lower tier star, megastars David Bowie and Mick Jagger could they didn't pull it off, right? But they could get away with it. People could still laugh at them, but they were still big. If this was somebody like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a lower tier star. Nobody comes to mind right now. But if like, say like a band like the Cars did this video, or a band on the uprise, like maybe Aha did it, they would not be heard from again. Bowie
the
Cars
have no room to be picky. Have you seen their fucking music videos?
I thought they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're awesome. But we're talking about dancing here. Jesus
which is funny you mentioned that, because the Cars probably have one of the great. The Aha has probably one of the greatest videos of the '80s.
Yes,
and greatest songs. So
if you haven't heard our One Hit Wonders podcast, the very first show, check it out, man. Awesome stuff.
And don't judge us because it was our first show, but but listen to it anyway because it was a great show.
We weren't dancing, I promise you that.
We were not in the streets, at least. So we're going to my pick, and I don't know how in the world anybody could beat this as the worst video of all time, because it ruined the man's career. I was telling you how Bowie and Jagger were able to still flourish after dancing in the streets. Well, I'm selecting Rock Me Tonight by Billy Squier. And you've seen the video killed the radio star. It was the first video that MTV played. Well, in this case, video actually fucking killed the radio star. It's cringeworthy, secondhand embarrassment. It's an anthemic techno pop where Billy Squier was trying to sort of transfer into that modern beat. He was a late 70s or early 80s rocker, saw that techno beat and techno pop was taking over and decided his hand at it. But I'm not going to talk about the song so much as I am going to talk about the video. The video was so bad, he fired both his managers. Now, Billy Squier was known for songs like Everybody Wants You, My Kind of Lover, Lonely is the Night, and In the Dark, which is my favorite Billy Squier song, and The Stroke. After he watched this video, he went from singing The Stroke to having a stroke. After he watched this video, after we as fans watched this video, we went from Everybody Wants You to Nobody Fucking Wants You. After his girlfriend, who warned him about the video, watched this video, he went from Lonely is the Night to, well, he stayed Lonely as the Night. This song peaked at the number 15 spot at the Billboard Top 100, and everybody thought the strength of the song, we got to put out a video. This was his biggest hit. The song is kind of catchy. If you listen to it and you don't know the video, you might even enjoy it. But I cannot listen to the song without associating it with Billy Squier's dancing and prancing around in his room. It was a disastrous career move. In the 2011 book, I Want My MTV, it's quoted as saying, nobody can agree on the best video of all time, but the consensus was that this was the worst video of all time. The video concept was Billy Squier getting ready for a show. This was his initial concept. he was getting ready for a show, and there was going to be cuts of his fans getting ready for the show. So everybody was going to get dressed up. Sounds pretty cool, right? He initially tapped Bob Girardi, who directed Beat It. He was initially going to direct this video, but he wanted a bigger budget, and Billy Squier and his group just couldn't come up with it. So they went with David Mallet, who directed Billy Idol's White Wedding. And one of the first, I guess, scenes that David Mallet was showing Billy Squier was Billy Squier riding in on a white horse into a diner. And Billy Squier said, I've heard enough. Get rid of this guy. So they went with Kenny Ortega. Now, Kenny Ortega was known as directing the Pointer Sisters' I'm So Excited. And Billy Squier had a premiere date on MTV with no director, so he was under the gun. So Kenny Ortega is also known as directing High School Musical, the movie. So Billy Squier was going to be directed by the same guy who taught Zac Efron how to shoot a jump shot. So that's bad enough. And they wanted to mimic Tom Cruise's Risky Business dance. It's like, it's iconic. It's going to be great. And Ortega agreed to direct footage of the band performing the song, which we saw towards the middle and the end of the video. But for the most part, we got Squier prancing around in his bedroom, ripping off a belly shirt in preference for a pink tank top, and just writhing around in his bedroom and doing what can be best described as a Richard Simmons dance routine exercise. Billy Squier first saw this video while he was on tour, and he was livid and aghast. His management told him not to worry. Don't worry about it, Billy, because the song had charted well and nobody would care about the video. Wrong. The video had an impactful and deleterious effect on his career. Now, Billy Squier was quoted as saying, I was a good-looking, sexy guy, and this, I'm a pretty boy. And I know he was trying to pick his words carefully. He was trying not to sound, the toxic masculinity was kicking in. He was talking about the effeminate image alienated his fan base, although bands like Motley Crue, as we mentioned before, Poison and Kiss, they made a living off that look, right? And Ortega was trying to say, I was trying to toughen up this guy's image. Yeah. At the end of the video, when Squier and his band are joking around and doing a chorus line dance and bowing, it's very symbolic. It's almost as if to say, we know this is the last time you'll see us, so goodbye. Squier's follow-up albums tanked, tickets to his concerts decreased, ticket sales, I should say, and finally a rock group that in the 80s that can't blame Nirvana for ending their career. Def Leppard and Rat used to open for him. You would think walking into a music video stage and seeing satin sheets on a bed, that has to be a tip-off that this video is not going to be good. Did you guys get to watch this video? Because I cannot stop watching this video. It is horrible.
To be honest with you, I watched it more than a few times. It didn't really scream worse to me, It reminded me of just a typical 80s music video. And again, and I hate to poke at you. You called another white guy dancing terribly iconic in Risky Business. What the fuck is wrong with you? We need to update you. We need to see some real live music and dancing, sir. I really thought it was a bad video, but I don't think it was a horrendous video. We're talking about Billy Squier like if he's fucking Michael Jackson here. He wasn't that big of a fucking star, so let's not give him too much goddamn credit. Like, oh, this video ended his career. He wasn't that great, okay? But other than Stroke Me that they played on Billy Madison, never even heard of the fucking guy. Granted, I'm a little bit younger, but even still, the video was bad, but it was kind of screamed 80s. It was just typical 80s, man. I mean, granted, too, at the very end of the video, I think Goatee stole some of that imagery in the paintings for his somebody that I used to know. Check out the end of that video.
Yeah,
it kind of reminds
that was his
me
album
of
cover. Yeah,
it looks like it. It was a bad video, and let's get it. But you can't say that his dancing was worse than Pete Burns or Mick Jagger.
Far worse.
No way. I will argue that shit to my grave. It was bad. But you ever see Mick Jagger? Oh my God! And Pete Burns was doing the fucking lookout and the teacher scolding thing. Come on, man. What do you think, Joseph?
So I agree with that you're on point. When I watched this video, it's very much on point. You can tell. Yes, Randy. Maybe he was. He was looking at what was happening around him, trying to keep up with, the trend. So when I watched this video, I do see similar things. Okay, yeah, you see, like I mentioned in my video, like we mentioned in your pick, Bob, dudes clearly dancing in a video in the 80s was what to do. Unfortunately, after you've told you gave us the facts, Randy, and how it did maybe screw up his career and kind of mark him as maybe he sold out. I guess it is horrible video. I don't like it very much at all. You know, I don't understand the get. I mean, I don't know if it kind of, because when I'm looking at it, it kind of looks like, you know, a scene from an 80s movie where, you know, they're getting up and getting ready to go out and meet some girls and do some drugs or something like that. So I don't know what he's doing, and I don't understand the pink top thing too. I kind of thought like I was like, what is this? And when I watched it, I think somebody, you know, hit us up on our Instagram profile, mentioned like something about The Room. And I kind of got that vibe too when I was like, okay, I could see the similarity part. I was like, is he like, I didn't know if the pink shirt belonged to an ex-lover that he was like smelling, you know, like I miss her so much or some shit, you know.
They're the same size, yeah.
They wore the same shirt. But, you know, it's really, when I watch it, it's on par and Jesus, if these were the apartments in the 80s, that's a hell of a lot of space in one bedroom.
Before inflation.
I think, you know, the first image is he's lying down naked in pastel and silk sheets, and he's rising up very much like Prince from, When Doves Cry, when he's getting up off the bathtub. And so I don't know which video came first, but it seems a kind of a knockoff of that. Like they're trying to play into the fact that, okay, Billy, you were a rocker. Now you're going to be a sex symbol. Now we're going to really sell you to women and all and then the video did the very opposite. He was a laughing stock. He was jumping around. It looked like he was a lot of people were saying it looked like he was a teenage girl dancing around in his bedroom and
yeah, that's the vibe I got.
That's inspiring, sir. He fucked up. I really do think he should have done what every other rock star did. Take off his shirt, wear a leather vest with no undershirt, and just start pumping his fist like Billy Idol.
He should have. And the thing is, if I was Billy Squier, I think the one thing that really made this worse, what made matters worse, is that he immediately said, oh, that wasn't my concept and that wasn't my idea. He didn't even take the time to own it, because if you're going to place blame on anybody, I don't think the director said go and hump the floor and then crawl and then get a pink guitar and go down an elevator and then start dancing around with your bandmates. You know, I don't think he said any of that. I think Billy Squier said, this is what I'm going to do. It's going to look like American Gigolo. Everybody's going to love me. They're going to go wild when I tear off my midriff shirt to put on my pink tank top. And none of that happened. And I think he just had a bad call. And as I mentioned before, I don't think he was the star that Mick Jagger and David Bowie were, where they could get away with doing a bad video and then keeping a high profile. Billy Squier was trying to break through, and he made a bad call. And that's why I think this video is the worst, because it was so detrimental to his career.
I can agree with that. I just, like I said, it's because you can tell he was going with the trend, but and it's a horrible video. I'll say that. I agree with it. I just think it's on par with what we've seen with, you know,
it's a lot of 80s videos, you know, right? At least he had the
it has similarities to our picks as well too.
The good thing about him is at least he let his band play with him at the end. Fucking Pete Burns had his band off in the corners wrapping ribbon, and there's nobody playing with Mick Jagger.
For a minute when I was watching this, I didn't think that the band was going to come out. I was like, okay, this is just. I was like, well, the name of the band, it's not Billy Squier Band or so it's Billy Squier. So, you know, I was like, we're not going to see the band. And then, oh, there's the band, you know, and they looked very unhappy to be there.
I think, you know, we did mention that dancing was prevalent, and it was a make or break time. I think if this video would have helped him, I think it would have helped out his album sales and his ticket sales, but everything tanked after this. But I also think it was the recognition of himself trying to disown the video, even though it was completely 100% him, because nobody could teach anybody those dance moves. I mean, he looked like Pee Wee Herman out there, you know, and it was just horrible.
What was Pee Wee Herman? We saw that last night. It was what band was that? The ones that sing Psycho Killer. No, Psycho Killer.
Talking Heads.
Talking Heads, yeah. They did the Pee Wee Herman dance last night in the video. Sorry, I know it's totally off topic.
That's all right.
Sorry, I love the Talking Heads. They're fucking awesome.
They're a great band. But yeah, that is my argument. I think if something ruins your career, but then again, you know, I could see both points to your arguments. Dead or Alive still lives on in infamy because of the video, and of course Paul Rudd brought them back to relevance, and of course Jagger and Bowie. Everybody says they were amazing. But then they point out to the Dancing in the Streets video, and that's when things sort of go south a little bit. But I mean, they've maintained. Go ahead, Joseph.
Aside from and before we close it up, I just, because, you know, the what we do is we're usually here to argue the best, and with this one we decided to let's make it the worst. But, you know, like I mentioned earlier, like if you look at all the 80s videos, is there another one other than Aha, Take on Me, can you think like can you think of another one off the top of your head real quick? Like what the hell was the basis for a good video in the 80s? Like
Robert
to
Palmer's
really
Addicted to Love, baby.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
chicks were hot playing the guitars, baby.
that's a simple, and maybe
That
because
was
it
a
was
good hit. Yeah.
maybe because it was simple, because it
Yeah,
was just,
I think so. I
was
think
it-
a lot of people. I think Randy hit it on the nail on the head earlier. He was like, a lot of people were experimenting, trying new clothes and makeup and different camera shots and different. You're trying to make comic books, trying to make this slide happen. There, it's a huge experimental thing, man. With science fiction was huge right there.
Yeah.
In the 80s as well. So I think it was the 80s was awesome because it was all experimental. Some hit, some didn't, but the music itself was just so fantastic and perfect for that decade.
I kind of want to talk about two videos real quick. I think videos got a lot of their inspiration from movies. And one of the ones that I thought was really good was Hungry Like the Wolf, because it was kind of an Indiana Jones takeoff. And I mean, it doesn't hurt that Duran Duran were five good-looking guys in a video.
I think of Hungry, of old school and Andy Dick. Who's hungry? Who's hungry?
I think another one was Scandal, The Warrior. I think it was a kind of a takeoff on Mad Max and those kind of post-apocalyptic movies.
Sure.
I thought that was a great video too, and it was very Broadway sort of style. It wasn't as gritty as some of the other videos that came after that. But I mean, that was the 80s. Everything was bigger, go home, and you rolled the dice. Go ahead, Bob.
I think that we'd be remiss to not mention Video Killed the Radio Star, the very first MTV music video. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a great song. It was a cheesy video, but I kind of think that set the standard for the 80s. You know what I mean? It was all brand new. It was all experimental.
Growing up and watching MTV, I was just enamored by everything, and you would get like the really weird videos like at 2 or 3 in the morning by bands that you've never heard of or would never hear from again. One of those bands was Flock of Seagulls. I remember they would be a late night sort of band, but then they got popular, and it was all about style. It was all about what was poppy, and a lot of bands sort of compromised their style in order to ensure that they got playtime. You know, bands like the Ramones and some of these other bands who were just hardcore this or alternative that, they would compromise and say, well, we have to be on MTV because that's what's selling right now, imagery. And so you saw a lot of bands that didn't sound the way they sounded in the early 80s and the late 70s sound different because they had to be TV friendly.
Yep, I agree 100%. I again, though, going back, because I know Phil Collins is your man. What the hell was Genesis thinking with Land of Confusion? That video
that's another one.
That was actually,
I had to throw that in.
That wasn't an original idea. You caught me off guard with that because that was from I think Cinemax had a TV show where they had those puppets.
It was very political too.
It's something.
Political, but it was a weird. I saw it last night. Weird fucking video.
That is a weird video. That is a strange video to watch, even when you're of your own.
Cocaine?
Yeah, when you're not on that. But yeah, I mean, the videos and We Are the World was probably the mother of all music videos because it had everybody on there. Everybody from Huey Lewis to Bruce Springsteen to Dan Aykroyd, and it was just like show choir for famous people. And I know you made a few jabs at We Are the World, but that was an event. I was old enough to remember when that video came on. You called your family, "Hey guys, We Are the World is on.
We gotta watch Willie Nelson and we gotta watch Michael Jackson." Just nobody look at Bob Dylan. I love Bob Dylan. Poor bastard didn't know where the fuck he was.
And, it's funny because when MTV was around, especially in the 80s, you couldn't find these videos anywhere. You had to wait on a rotation. So if you liked a video by whoever, Rod Stewart or Janet Jackson, whoever,
that made them awesome, dude.
Yeah,
I think that made it so awesome, dude.
Yeah,
so awesome. It wasn't just an instant click. You had to like stay up late and have a drink and just chill out and be like, I'm waiting for my song, video to come on, and then I'll go to bed. Man. I think that's great.
I miss the music video channel. I used to watch MTV late at night. A lot of the bands that I like to this day, I saw a video from them late at night or just at some point in the day because they used to play them, and I missed that. And I'm sure when it kicked off in the 80s, like with that Video Kill the Radio Star, it was an interesting video. I actually don't put it on a list of worst videos because it was interesting and it was what kicked it off, and it was actually really cool.
I think two of the biggest beneficiaries of the MTV era, and there are a ton, so people could tell us, what about this person and that person, but ZZ Top, which was a 70s rock band and a very radio heavy band, when they started making, whoever brought up the concept of the ZZ Top videos, I mean, hats off to them, because they were always connected. They were always cool. They were slick, beautiful.
They had the badass cars. They had the Legs video was awesome.
Yeah,
the Legs video is awesome. LaGrange was awesome. Those guys have always been fucking cool as shit.
So ZZ Top was great. Bruce Springsteen was another one. He was a guy that had Final Cut on his videos. So even though, unlike Billy Squier, who didn't have Final Cut, if Bruce Springsteen didn't like his video, it wouldn't see the light of day. Although I don't know why the hell he greenlit Dancing in the Dark, especially now that's one white guy that can't dance. All right, I know you can.
Adam Sandler nailed that shit. He nailed that
shit. Courtney Cox too. But that's our show for today, everybody. Listeners, we'd like to hear from you. What was the worst 80s music video? What did we not mention? Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter at fopponents and on Instagram at formidable_opponents. Join us next week as we argue best video game. That show might come up midweek because we are taking Mother's Day off to celebrate all the wonderful mothers in our lives. So for Bob and Joseph, this is Randall signing off. Y'all have a great night.
Turn around, bright eyes. I got it.
Yes. Good night, everybody.